Good evening and welcome to the Legion Cantina. In today's episode, we're going to run through all the different things that AMG announced at Adepticon and just ask a few questions about where this kind of leaves us with Legion going forward. So, huge, like not what I expected at all. I think AMG went above and beyond certainly my expectations. Maybe other people were expecting more, but I think based on the noises we were hearing, I hadn't anticipated anything of this scale coming through. So what I'm going to do is just run through things in roughly the order they were announced. I'm not going to go through everything because, quite frankly, life's too short. But I'll go through the main points that were announced, and I'll try and give my thoughts on where this leaves Legion going forward. So, a couple of things that we saw. Obviously, we've got the sort of in-store tournament kits, organized plays things, the promo cards, all that kind of stuff. I don't have too much insight to give on these. It's cool they exist. Whether or not they'll be used, I don't really know, but it will be nice to see them going forward. And if they're in your local game store, it might be a little bit more of an incentive to come along and play. So, a cool thing that it exists, but I don't think something that will have necessarily a huge impact on the game as a whole. The sort of slightly smaller scale announcements, we saw some repackaging of certain things, so B2's code is being re-released, and then we've also had repackaging for the Outer Rim Outlaws, so Boba and Mando and the IG units. I think this is cool, also Speeder Truck as well. I think this is cool, and yeah, it'd just be nice to see these things coming out. It does give mention to new rules, so excited to see those. And yeah, never going to be mad at some repackaged products coming back onto our shelves. I will touch on the sort of stock issue later on in more detail, so I won't go into that now. Also got some more details on Ahsoka. My 10 cents, she seems pretty powerful, and it will be interesting to see how she slots into the inevitable Anakin Rex Ahsoka list. I think she looks decent. We don't know about Sheehan Mastery yet, and that could be interesting, but her command cards are decent, and yeah, independent recover is always a nice thing to have, so not mad about this, and yeah, just looking forward to see how she slots into GAR going forward. In terms of bigger announcements and in some ways cooler announcements, I think I'll stick my neck out there. We saw custom commanders, and not sure how this will play out yet. My instinct is these should be on the lower power level side, and there shouldn't hopefully be any game breaking combos that people can put together. I'm a little bit nervous about the Jedi. Because there is just a bit of potential for those to be pretty strong, but it sounds like these will take the place of generic officers, and then you'll still be able to put the officers in core units, but not as sort of the generic rebel officer or generic imperial officer commander unit. So that's cool, and I think just again a nice idea. Hopefully nothing that is super impactful on the game, but if you want to run these in your custom games and spice things up a bit, great that they exist, and a cool idea. So can't be mad at that. The big one, though, the starter sets. I'll run through these in sort of the order that they come to me. So I'll go through the Rebels first. This is a completely reasonable box. You got Luke, two of the sort of big new boxes of the Rebel Troopers, one unit of the new Rebel Commandos, and one unit of the resculpted Wookiees. Also hoping Wookiees get some new rules as well to go with this. But this is kind of the generic structure that you're going to see with these. It's a solid commander, two big boxes of the core units, and normally two special forces, although you do get some supports in some of the boxes as well. The price point, though, is a real surprise. I've been discussing with a few people, and the kind of figures that were being pushed around were we're talking like $120, maybe $130. But to get this under $100, I think is a surprise, and I think it's an interesting move in terms of who these starter sets you would typically expect to appeal to. You're aiming these at new players, and I think possibly underpricing these and then sort of making other things more expensive might be a way to sort of get people into the game. And then obviously once you're in and you're kind of committed, that's when you start to pick up the extra little boxes as well. But given that just one of the core boxes is $50, you're getting a discount on just the two core units, which would be $100 RRP normally. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused how this all fits together, and I hope this isn't just starter sets being very cheap, in inverted commas, and then the other units being expensive, but I'm a little bit worried that might be how it ends up going. But that's maybe me just being a bit pessimistic. But this starter set's great and comes with all the starter bits you need. I've cut it off so you can fit more of the detail of the models on, but you get your tools, your dice, or stuff like that, which is obviously really good. Uh, and then same thing for all the factions. So you get same thing for Empire, which I think Empire, I'll kind of rank them as I go through. I think Rebels is kind of the second best one. I think it's really decent. A couple of nice special forces. Hopefully the commandos get a little bit of a buff, so they're a bit more usable. I think Empire actually has the worst of these because unfortunately there's just lots of the same thing. Your 14 scouts, your 22 storms, and Vader. Points value is completely reasonable. I think they're actually pretty similar, but yeah, there is just a lot of very similar sculpts. And I think this is just a slight issue with Empire is that while the updated sculpts are nice, there's maybe less motivation to buy these over the old sculpts just because there aren't the sort of, the alien heads and the noticeably different sculpts that perhaps you get from the Rebel starter box. But yeah, this is fine and exactly what you'd expect for the Empire starter set. Separatists, I think, get the best one. They get Grievous. You're getting 30 battle droids in here. 30 battle droids, that's pretty crazy. And then you get some nice droidicas and 9 B2s, which is, I assume, how they're going to be reboxed. I think this is the best one. I don't know in terms of points values, but my guess would be this is probably up there in terms of the points it gives you as well. So, yeah, a really nice starter box for Separatists. And then Guard, just pretty generic again, kind of quite similar to the Empire one. You get some nice new arc sculpts, which is cool. I do like the arc sculpt, a bit more chunky. You can see a bit more detail on there, which is cool. And then Obi-Wan, some ARFs, and obviously the Jedi Guardian that comes in that ARF box. So yeah, another cool one. I'd rank this one third. But yeah, I think Separatist definitely the best, and Empire unfortunately do get the worst one. We got some new unit announcements. Claim Trooper Marksman. I'm going to assume these are a core unit that will surge to hit, and not sure what else to really say. Maybe some nicer heavy weapon options in there. Maybe just like 2 or 3 in the base squad, and then some heavy weapon options. But yeah, they look pretty nice sculpts, and some nice heavy weapons on there, so can't be mad. But yeah, probably. Hopefully they make some impact on the one core option that Gar has at the moment. The exciting one though are General Grievous on wheelbike, and then the personnel wheelbikes, and Han and Luke on Tawns. It's an entirely new concept, and how this ends up working, I could not even begin to explain. I'm particularly interested in Han and Luke on Tawns and how they pull that one off, because the idea of giving a Force user access to, I was going to say Speed 3, but Ahsoka's Speed 3 base, but giving access to that with charge is really interesting. So I'm really excited to see those ones, and I'll touch more on like the balance of the game later, but the AMG are definitely throwing some different kinds of units out there into the sort of, you're just throwing some curveballs in there to try and spice up the game, maybe. Difficult to say, but some cool ideas, and really excited to see how these come together. I think the sculpts look fairly cool. Luke and Han on Torn look decent to me, and I think the bikes look pretty good as well, especially Grievous's cape with those sabers. I think that's very cool. So big fan of that, and some potential for some good memes with Kenobi as well. So can't be mad at that. This though, whoa, we kind of heard tell of the speeder bikes and Han and Luke on tour. Like we had an idea that was coming, but fair play to AMG for keeping this under their hat, because this was a huge curveball. Hondo Pirates speeder tank. It looks great, and big fan of whatever they end up doing with this. It sounds like they can fit into all the factions, and yeah, it's interesting that Shadow Collective died so that the pirates could live, I guess. I can't see why there isn't a space for Shadow Collective and for a fifth faction. But that's their call, their game. But very cool, and a great addition to the game, even if they're not meta. People who want to use these, Hondo's a great character, and I think the pirates will just be super interesting. And yeah, love the idea. It'd be, again, really interesting to see how they come out. Sculpts look pretty good, and excited to see the rules for the tank and things like that. They are a fair distance away with early 2026, but a really good idea. And I think in some ways this is another sign of AMG going, dare I say it, above and beyond, because nobody was expecting this, right? Like nobody really has been crying out for Hondo to come in. And while it's interesting they've chosen him and the Pirates over some of the more obvious units, maybe it's a cool idea. And I think a kind of common theme of these releases has just been stuff that we didn't necessarily quite expect, and just in quite a good way. And I think it's easy to knock things sometimes. And I think in this case, it's important we do recognize that this is all pretty cool. And the starter set pricing is reasonable. And I don't know, it feels like a good positive change. And from what I've seen on, Facebook chats, whatever, seems to have been really well received. So it's a really good thing to see. Obviously, also the poll, thank you for everyone for clicking on that. But I think it was like 85% of people were very much on board with we're so back. So good to see. The slight sticking point, having just gone on my positivity rant, is the restock schedule. Don't know why this is taking so long. Like, the idea that we're gonna have to be waiting until late 2026 for Maul, Amidala, Yoda, Gideon. Yeah, I don't get this. I don't. I'll leave the restock thing for now because I want to talk about it at the end. But I have some some real questions about why this continues to be a barrier. And it is just a little caveat on everything. When you're announcing as many cool things as you are, like, and you can't restock the units you already have. Anyway, talk about it at the end. Release schedule, yeah, good to have. And this is one of the solid things you need when you're communicating with your customers, is an idea of what is coming and when, because then people can start to plan. Maybe people have budgets for the year, and the way, like, they don't know what they're going to spend their money on, and then they can look ahead to see, in quarter four, the clone trooper marksmen are coming. I want to save a bit of money so I can spend it then. This is just a really good way of communicating what it is that you're going to be selling to your customers when, and that can only help them when they want to know if they're going to buy stuff. So, to finish off, I'm just going to ask some questions, and again, not pretending I got the answers to these, but they're just questions that came to mind as I was listening to the announcements and things like that. By the way, not claiming this is exhaustive. I don't have the time or the patience, and it wouldn't be a great video if I went through it in all the details. But there were whispers about like Mace Windu and stuff on the stream as well. So, if you want to go and do those, listen to those, absolutely go ahead. But yeah, not going to go into that level of detail. But yeah, as I kind of hinted out there, my first question is, will these be met, and what is going on with the restock? Like, it is one of the consistent gripes that the community has, is that things are out of stock. And the result of things being out of stock is that if there are things available on, eBay or whatever, they get more expensive because people know that these things are in short supply, and it just makes it harder to buy the units you want and run the armies that you want to play. And that sucks. And it shouldn't be a barrier. It should just be, if you want to buy a product from a company, they should have that product to sell you. Otherwise, people are going to go elsewhere. And I think in many ways, I was hearing kind of not whispers, because it wasn't people whispering, but there were complaints people were having before this release schedule, and for all these announcements about what's going on with Legion, because since we transitioned over to the 2.6 rule set, it's all just felt a bit vague, a bit sort of, the communication hasn't been super clear. And we've heard whispers about they're watching riots. Like, I don't understand the watching riots thing, but sure, whatever. And these announcements are great. These are really positive things to hear. But what AMG now has to do is they have to deliver on these things. And if they deliver on these things, I genuinely think this could be a huge moment for Legion. Like, this could be, we have a clear direction. We have signs they're investing in all these hard plastic sculpts. We have signs that, these starter sets clearly aimed at newer players and dragging people into the game. All those things are great, but we need to be able to buy these products that they are sort of trying to push out. And that needs to be AMG's primary goal for me, because they now have enough cool stuff out there. Like, all these announcements more than cover for the next. And if people want more, people are being unreasonable. Like, this isn't 40k, relax. As long as all these things are delivered, I think it's a huge positive step for Legion. But if these things aren't met and you start to ask these questions again, then there's no point announcing all the cool things if you then don't deliver on them. So that has to be, and AMG will know this. This can't be news to them, and if it is news to them, they need to really think about what they're doing. But just hit these promises. People will be happy. The game will grow, and it will be a really positive thing. I think people do just have this awareness constantly. You know, you saw what happened to X-Wing and a bit that's happened to Armada and things like that. Like these games that don't get the support they need just do start to fade, and that's not what people want to happen with Legion. So hopefully these restock promises get hit, but we shall see. My second question is, you're throwing a lot of new units in there, and with the few units that AMG have already added, there have been some pretty severe balance issues. And this is a lot of potentially very powerful stuff that they are throwing into the game. Like, it's part of my concern with Grievous and Han and Luke on Torn. Like, those could potentially be very, very powerful units if they have certain abilities. If, you know, the Tauns keep access to Relentless and their speed 3, suddenly that's a very scary, you know, Luke charging around and Han with that speed 3 could be pretty lethal. So hopefully the game will be absolutely fine, because I actually think for what it's worth, the game's in a pretty reasonable spot balance wise. Like at Worlds, we saw a pretty reasonable diversity of things being brought, like way more Empire than I expected. And while the final 8 was a little bit more filled down, it was still good to see loads of different viable things being brought. So just don't screw up the balance as well, because I don't know, it was. I'm going to keep coming back to it, but Anakin being released at 155, like anyone who's played more than 10 games of Legion immediately knew that was a problem. Like it was obvious. Same with Clone Commandos, same with the original version of Arcs. Like it was so obvious those things were wrong. That yeah, we just don't want to have to deal with that again, because it just wasn't a pleasant time to be playing the game. My other question that I'm not super interested in, because I don't play Shatterpoint, but I understand some people may be super interested in what's happening with Shatterpoint. Does this mean, because AMG have given themselves a lot to get through here, does this mean less focus gets put on Shatterpoint? I don't really know. There seems to be this theory that there is this strong relationship between either people work on Shatterpoint or people work on Legion. I don't know which is which, and I don't know if that's true, but it is just a question to think about. And there are some people who really enjoy Shatterpoint, and I want them to be able to enjoy their gaming experience as well. Just because I'm interested doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to have their cool game as well. So it'd be nice to see that Shatterpoint keeps getting a bit of support. Kind of mentioned on the pricing structure. Yeah, Ahsoka's $30. Like the problem, it's that starter set. It almost feels too low. Like I can't explain it, but Ahsoka is a third of the price of that starter set, and you're getting 2 models. In most of those starter sets, you're getting around 40, in some cases towards 50. I don't get it. Like, obviously, Heroes are more expensive because they can only sell you one, and I understand that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'd be interested to see. I'm going to keep a keen eye on the prices going forward, because Legion is already an expensive game, and I just don't like. I'm already kind of on the fence about investing in the new skulls, because I have most of the stuff I already need, and I do wonder if that's why these starter sets are pitched so low, because maybe AMG has realized that their current market is kind of saturated, because Legion players tend to just pick up all the bits they could possibly need. It seems to be my experience. Maybe I'm only playing with certain people, but yeah, and maybe they just need more people coming into the game to spend the money, because it's a lot easier to flog that starter set than it is to sell Ahsoka as a value proposition. So yeah, I get it, but hopefully it drags new players in and it achieves their objective. And also, you know, can this rate of announcements continue? Like this they smashed out the park with this. They did so well, so many cool things, lots of positive noises. Can this continue? I don't know. I'd love it if it did, but also I'm in the kind of place where I don't really need loads of cool announcements. So I know there are some people who want lots of new stuff, and that's fine. Like everyone wants their new shiny toys, and I get that. But maybe we just don't need loads of these announcements. But yeah, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I'm not expecting too many negative things, but if there are any negative things, let me know, and let me know why you're feeling a bit negatively towards this. But yeah, I'm in a cautiously positive place, and just those as I've said, just give us the stuff to buy. Like I was about to say it can't be that hard. I haven't got a clue how hard it is, but as long as there is stuff to buy, there are Legion players who'll buy it. So that would be my message to AMG. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed, and will be a World's Final 8 review video coming out soon. I opted to do this one first just because I found this topic slightly more engaging. But yeah, excited to talk about those lists, and yeah, see you for the next one.